Welcome to Leadership Behind the Scenes with me, NOOMI NATAN, Executive Coach and Leadership Consultant. In this podcast, we champion human-friendly leadership because you're human first and leaders second. We share tips and insights on how you can increase your impact and influence so you can be the leader you've always dreamt of being and feel proud when you look in the mirror. Welcome to this very first episode of Leadership Behind the Scenes. My name is NOOMI and I am thrilled that you are here. Today I'm going to talk to you about why work isn't just work. What is human-friendly leadership? And what can you expect from this podcast if you listen today and beyond? Also, if we haven't met, I'm going to give you a very brief introduction to me and what it is that I do. Now take a breath and let's dive in. Work isn't just work. So often people say, well, don't worry about it, it's just work. And that sort of implies that you shouldn't be feeling very strongly about something work-related because, yeah, it's just work. You know what? There's nothing just about work. For most of us, it's where we derive a huge part of our identity, of who we are, what we are in the world, how we contribute. It's to do with what we do for what we call work. It's also where most of us spend most of our waking hours, our best quality hours we give to something we call work. And most of us couldn't fund very much outside of work if it wasn't for what we're earning through our work. So everything else that happens when we're not at work is dependent on the funding, on the flow of money that comes from our work. On top of that, it's how we categorize other people. It's how we make sense of each other. Maybe it's not right, but it's pretty much true that next after talking about how the weather is, we ask each other, so what do you do? And it can be an annoying question and it can be a welcomed question depending on how you feel about your work at that time. But we all do it. It's how we make a sense of ourselves and each other. We derive huge amounts of achievement, frustration, satisfaction, confidence, self-doubts, all kinds of things we derive from work. So it isn't just work. Sometimes my clients will come to me and they'll say, I had to apologize. I kind of got emotional in there, or I couldn't quite keep it together, they'll say. And then they tell me that, they were having to tell someone that they no longer had a job, or they had to say, well, I've been told I no longer have a job. And I say, good for you that you couldn't quite keep it together. Because the fact that you showed some emotion, in my world, that's a sign that you care, that it matters, and that you're a healthy human being that can actually feel something when something significant happens. It's a good thing you care about your work and your colleagues and your place in that world. It makes sense. So yes, work isn't just work. It matters. And we need to give ourselves and each other permission to feel things about work. And we need to find a language to express it. This is one of the things that's really missing. So a while back, I started talking about human-friendly leadership, and I felt really silly when I first started talking about it because, isn't all leadership about human beings? But it turns out that a lot of times leadership is about processes and efficiencies and managing numbers and crunching it into an Excel spreadsheet or a performance management tool. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because that absolutely serves a really important purpose. But it just seems we forget that basic human qualities and basic human relationship skills are an essential part of what makes a great leader and what makes leadership work. There is no replacement for genuinely caring and being interested in other people. You know, when people want to learn, well, how do I motivate my people? How do I get the best out of them? Well, if you're not genuinely interested in them, and if you don't genuinely want to actually listen to what it's like being them, I don't know how far you'll get at getting the best out of them. I don't know how much you can really do in terms of growing them and developing them. They might do it for themselves if you're lucky, if you have a highly motivated high achiever. But really, the basic human skills are so important. And somewhere along the line, they've been called soft skills. People often say to me, oh, we don't want anything too soft and fluffy and definitely not too pink. And you know what? There's nothing soft and fluffy about human basic skills, about humanity. It's essentials. We need that. And we need to give ourselves permission to talk about work and the emotional side of it, because everyone wants you to be passionate about work. They want your enthusiasm. They want your dedication. They want your fire. And if they want that, they're also going to have to take the other side of it, which is your frustration, your disappointment, your hurt when things aren't working out the way we want them to. This is what this podcast is about. It's about the intangible stuff. You know, so often people will say to me, we followed all the processes, we've done all the right things, you know, the people that needed to leave the organizations have left, and somehow things aren't quite right. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know what it is, but something isn't working. When is it going to be fun again? When are people going to feel inspired again? When is it going to just gel? What's it going to take for this team to really lift and to really go to magical places? I don't get it. What's missing? It's the human stuff. It's hard because there's not a simple equation that will give you the solution. There's not a simple this plus this equals, yay, all the great results you want in the world. It's messy and it's fussy and it's meaningful, and it requires you to do your own work too, because you want to develop others and you want to develop teams and you want to create a stronger, better culture in your organization. You want your leadership teams to work better. Well, you have to work your own stuff too. There's no escaping it. This is the kind of work I sit and do with my clients. I work with leaders in all kinds of businesses. I've never specialized in any specific industry or profession, but my specialism is the stuff that's beneath the surface, that goes really deep into the stuff you can't see, and that makes a real difference of whether a leader really is just someone who can deliver some results, or can they deliver results and deliver for the people. Do people really want to be on that person's team? I mean, I know leaders that someone will go, I only want to join the organization if I can join your team, right? That's the power that some leaders have. People want to follow them. Are you one of those? So if we haven't met yet, my name is NOOMI, as you've already gathered. If you're wondering about the accent, if you're one of those people that's trying to figure out what's this accent, I couldn't tell you. I've picked up quite a few things in the many places I've lived along the way. But I'm originally from Denmark, and right this moment I'm living in beautiful North Oxford with my 2 daughters and my husband. And what I do for work is executive coaching and leadership consulting. So I have got the privilege of sitting one-on-one with loads of different types of leaders. I get to go in and visit organizations and spend time with their teams, their leadership teams, and help them build culture, build team spirit, build teams that can really perform and lift. And I help organizations through really tough times of organizational change, and how to build a culture and how to build spirit and loyalty and purpose that can be human friendly. I mean, essentially, that's what it's about. And I'd love you to join this conversation with me. So drop me a line if you're sitting with some kind of challenge in the leadership human realm. I'd love to hear from you so that I can help you. I might dedicate an episode to whatever challenge you've got going on, of course, completely confidentially. I won't name you. As you know, I'm sure that my work is completely dependent on confidentiality. So send me a line. Let's start a dialogue. And let's give ourselves permission to acknowledge the feelings we have about work. It's a good thing we care. We should care. Let's feel something and let's find language and ways to express it, to process those feelings so that we can be whole human beings. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and colleagues. And it would mean the world to me if you would leave a review in iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, wherever it is that you're listening, as it will help other people find the podcast. If you don't want to miss another episode, do subscribe here and head over to NOOMINATAN.com and sign up for my email list too. Now take a breath. Because no matter how busy we are, there's always time to breathe. Have a great day.